Well, in breaking news this morning, Donald Trump has ruled out giving Australia an exemption to steel and aluminium tariffs. The US president's press secretary said he had considered it and considered against it, ultimately deciding to support America First steel. The 25% tariffs will kick in tomorrow. For more, economist Evan Lucas joins us live in Melbourne. Good morning. So the headlines are screaming this morning, the tariffs are coming, the tariffs are coming. What does that mean for everyday Australians?
So a few things to look at there, Nat. First and foremost, what's happened this morning around us not being exempt. That was probably a foregone conclusion before even what we saw over the last couple of days with former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. I need to also highlight here, we don't export steel to the US. We do export a small amount of aluminium to the US. Now, from an Australian-centric point of view, it's a reasonable amount. It's $694 million per annum that we do send to them, but it's not, something like Canada, which has 60 to 80% of their steel and aluminium exports that go into the US. So this is not unsurprising. It does hurt certain sectors. We are not as affected as the rest of the world, but again, it just shows that we are not going to be exempt going forward because clearly the president has changed his view on Australia, and that's something we now have to accept going forward as well.
So what about talk of recession fears in the US because of the tariffs, or partly because of the tariffs that Trump is putting on other countries?
So that is absolutely going to become part of it. Already we've seen consumer confidence in the US hit the low that we saw during the peak of COVID. We've seen business confidence now hit a 3-year low. If you look at overall support for the tariffs, they've fallen to less than 50% of the country is now supporting it. So that's there. The reason it might not happen is we need to remember his other part of his policy leading into his election back in November. Tariffs were clearly number one. Number two was tax reform and tax cuts. So if it does look like the household starts to really slow down and stop buying over in the US, they will go to the tax cuts to give a stimulus package to the household, which will probably keep them out. That doesn't mean that it's making the economy any better. It doesn't mean that the US economy is going to be any more stable. But he can stave off recession with that lever, but he's only got it at one shot. And if he can't do it again, then you will find that question about recession coming next year quite strongly. OK,
so how would that affect us? And if you're looking at your super balance and watching it go down a bit this week, what is your advice?
OK, so first, with the last part of your question around super, need to remember last year and the year before, the US did something it hadn't done since the 30s, which was to have 2 consecutive years of 24 or more % gains in the S&P and the NASDAQ. So that is why, you need to put time into consideration around your super. Yes, your super balance over the last couple of weeks has probably taken a bit of a hit, but cumulatively, it's done incredibly well, and you need to be thinking long-term with that. Short-term, and your answer around what happens to Australia, we are going to have to start looking to other nations. We're going to also have to start looking to how we deal with a scenario where our other trading partners are having the same problem in terms of dealing with the largest trading partner on the planet. We will get around it, and there's no issues about this. It is a but. It will hurt in the short term, and we're just going to have to deal with it.
OK, Evan Lucas, thank you for your time. Here's Chevo.